guys, welcome back to the Real Southern Garden. I'm Sarah, and today we're going to head to Lowe's and see what new plants they have in right now. And boy, do they have a ton. They probably had 50 or 60 of those giant racks that they load everything off of the trucks with. Oh my goodness, so many things already priced, but not like out of the nursery yet. So I went through each rack to try to find the coolest new plants that they had to show you guys, and also of course went through the entire nursery and showed you the different plants that they have. They have a ton of clematis right now, a ton of lilies, just a lot of good stuff, a lot of drop-in containers. If you're looking for some pre-planted things you could put into some ceramic containers or that sort of thing. So many fun plants out. So let's head out to Lowe's. At the end of the video I will show you my plant haul, and of course a little sneak peek of the rose garden, of my personal rose garden. I want to show you what's blooming. It's going to be very quick. We're going to have a full rose garden tour coming up in a couple weeks. I also have a really neat garden tour that I'm going to have out on Monday or Tuesday of this coming week, so be on the lookout for that. It's one of my friends' private gardens, and I cannot wait to show you that. So today's going to be a fun day. Let's head out to Lowe's and let's see what new plant inventory they have in right now. And here we go, arriving at the Lowe's Garden Center. They have these beautiful lilies. You can see this little guy right here, priced at $12.98. And this is just their little display when you first walk up, but all of these plants you're going to see later in the video, and I'll have prices for each one. So let's head on over to the back side where we always start with a little plug-in annuals. They have some really healthy salvia, $1.98 for each one of these. And then all of these little plants back here were $1.98. So they had some coreopsis, they had a lot of beautiful little marigolds. Marigolds brighten up everything, and of course they're great to plant around your tomatoes to help keep pests away. And so many landscape designers use marigolds now in their designs, like around, you see them around shopping malls and banks and things like that. And they're really popular for that these days. Some celosia coming in at $1.98 also, and then a couple petunias. I still have not found the Super Tunia bubblegum anywhere locally. I cannot believe it. Eventually I'm going to find it, or I'm going to order it, because I got to see what the fuss is about. I got to grow it myself and see how big it'll get. Rosemary. The rosemary were coming in at $7.98. They looked really healthy though, that's for sure. Some coreopsis, $7.98, same price as the rosemary. And then, oh, these carnations, they smell really, really good, this particular variety. It's $7.98 for these guys also. And they are called Scent First Dianthus, so I would assume that is why, because they do smell so good. And they had a ton of racks that had not been unloaded. These are just a few. There was a lot more coming up in the back, but some lavender here for sale. I don't grow a ton of lavender. I like to kind of stick with the salvia. You just have to amend the soil a lot for lavender, but $13.48 for these Proven Winners plants up here. And you can't go wrong with Proven Winners. They put out great products. And let's see, we had a lot of Calabrotia, these little hanging baskets. Most of them were running around $18.98. The one at the top here, $24.98 for that mix. They have different prices for everything. I wish they would had everything like by size, quart size, gallon size, kind of more consistent, but they got to do what they got to do. $6.48 for these little pink guys up here. And they are called Ophelia. I'm not sure I pronounced it right. $6.48 for the ones at the top that are kind of orange. Very beautiful color. And then of course geraniums down here at the bottom, $16.98 for that size. And then they had more salvia waiting in the wings. They had more marigolds, more of everything. Here's an arborvitae, pretty good size. And for $20.98 for a screening plant that size, that isn't bad. Deer do like to munch on them, so you got to be careful where you put those. And what do we have? Oh, this is more traditional holly right here. I don't have a ton of this, but some people really love it. It's definitely great for wildlife and for birds, and $19.98 for that. Then what are we coming around here? Oh, they had these oranges, Satsumas actually. My dad grew a ton of these down in Houston kind of when I was in college, and then the age, even into my 30s, he was growing them. And he got to be a really good little Satsuma farmer down there. They aren't really hardy in my area. They go to zone 8, that particular variety. I'm not even going to mess with that because I know it'll get killed. Same thing right here for the lime. You'd have to keep that in a greenhouse, but if you're in the market for a lime or Satsuma, they had them here. And then their ferns, I believe, are knocked down to $10. My mom saw the sign inside. They're still like 2 cents cheaper though, $9.98 or $9.97, I can't remember, at Walmart right now. And then look at all the beautiful color in the 6-packs. All of these 6-packs were priced the same at $13.98. And then we had some pretty little, these would be good drop-in containers, these Sun Patients. These are the Impatiens that can take sun at $24.98. They're a really neat variety. There's so many now. We have some more dahlias up here. Look at that color. There's another beautiful dahlia I'm going to show you in a minute. And that dahlia was $8.48. And then we have some little tropical plants down there at the bottom for $6.48. And coming up at the top, $16.98 for some of these hanging baskets weren't looking the best. Just some different Calabroccia colors. And then down at the bottom, below them, we have some more hibiscus, which of course is not hardy in my area. $17.98 for these guys. And then we had some African daisies for $16.98. They're looking pretty healthy. I also don't grow a ton of daisies either. They can be a little finicky, so I try to go with the things that give me a little bit less hassle, if you know what I mean. And then we have some more, $13.98 for this little pot of color here. I like that yellow and purple. Then they have some True Bloom. They're called Easy Care roses. That's a really gorgeous color. It's never bad. You can get your feet wet with roses with buying some of these. I am pretty picky with my roses and what I get. I'm down to like picking out exact varieties and heirloom varieties and that sort of thing. But these guys were really pretty. And they were priced at $22.98, and they all did smell good. They had a scent. That is one of my pet peeves with roses. I've got to have a scented rose no matter what it is. And then they had some Mandevilla that was kind of like a tree form, like a climbing form. And they also had some tree form hibiscus, and they were all coming in at the same price. And they were $62.98 for either one. The climbing hibiscus, well, it's not really climbing per se, but it's trained, perhaps it is climbing, I guess. Trained to look that way. Look at this pretty purple on this Cooper's ice plant. Really, really nice. And sorry about my shadow. I usually film earlier in the day, but it was a little bit later and I kept getting my shadow in the shot, trying to edit some of it out for you guys. This little plant is called Artemisia. Anyway, $7.98. Then we have these beautiful lilies, $5.98 for those. And then some Coreopsis priced at $5.48. And this phlox right here was really nice. $7.98, and it was very fragrant. So garden phlox, it's fragrant, love it. $7.98 for these little carnations. They were also very fragrant. And $24.98 for this little pink and white hanging basket mixed with some different Calabroccia and Supertunias. And then they had an aqua way at the top for $24.98. That's a self-watering container. And then some beautiful orange lantana and a hanging basket for $24.98. These little pretty stripy Supertunias, $6.48 for those. And then here's a beautiful pink color. It still was not the Supertunia bubblegum, but I know I'm going to find it eventually. And of course, all of these were $6.48 for those different Supertunias and a lot of the Calabroccia also. $21.98 for those Gerber daisies. I think I'd buy a smaller size because they had some for $6.48 at Walmart and here, and just let them grow because they grow pretty quickly in the growing season. So yeah, $6.48 for this size. I would buy that and maybe buy two and put them together. They're gonna grow so fast. Blackberry baby cakes. This was a blackberry growing in a hanging basket. I think it said it gets 3 to 4, I believe 3 to 4 feet rounded. So you'd have to take that out of there, or perhaps it would just stay very small in the hanging basket. I've never seen one grown. I kept looking at it because I was a little confused. It seems like an interesting idea though. And then some more beautiful lavender coming in at $16.98. And then check out all the tomatoes on this counter cuisine right here. $19.98 for this. It is loaded down with tomatoes, so it looks like a pretty healthy plant. Little cocktail tomatoes. And then they had some figs back here. Back to the tomato. They had some little figs back here. $12.98 for those. I hear those take a really long time to grow. $12.98 for these hanging baskets of petunias at the top. That wasn't too bad of a price. And then we're going to take a quick look at the different vegetables that they have. They have all of the Bonnie plants. $5.98 is the price that I saw. Then they had like an overlaid price on top, but the original price was cheaper at $5.98. So I'm pretty sure that's what those are going for. $4.98 for the bigger tomatoes at the bottom, Husky and Big Boy. And then, of course, tons of herbs. Any herb that you can pretty much need, they've got right here for you to pick up. And then they had, of course, many types of pepper plants. So if you didn't grow them from seed and you need to buy some starts, they have almost every variety you could imagine. And then we have the strawberry hanging baskets. And my neighbor actually bought a couple of these this year, and she said they were working really well. So could be a great idea. And they were priced at $19.97, so just under $20. And then here's the Better Boy tomato in the larger size and some lettuce right there. Gonna head inside and see what they have. $34.98 for this little container. It's kind of pre-planted for you with different combination of plants. Just to make sure that when you buy one of these containers that you're looking to make sure that they are plants that actually go together, that they're all full sun plants or they're all shade plants and they're not mixed, because sometimes they mix them and they're not gonna do well if you put them in a sun location and they're sun and shade. I love this little display every time I see it that they have this year there. It's so cute. Then, of course, some begonias, $1.98 for those little guys. You can pop those into a container and make it look really cute. That is not a bad price. And they had tons of clematis. I'm going to show you the different colors. They were all priced the same. They were all priced the same at $18.48. Now I'm going to show you all the different colors, like I said, here coming up. Here are some more petunias. I like this peachy color, $1.98. Of course, the one I picked up didn't even have a great bloom on it, but just wanted to show you the price. And then we call this moss rose, $1.98 for my mom and I call it moss rose. What else? Then just some more little pop-in color, all $1.98. $24.98 for this really pretty pink container with the little spray in the middle. They had so many of these pre-made ones. These Impatiens were a 6-pack. And their 6-packs were coming in at $6.48. They also had begonias. Here's another look at some of the different clematis that they have. Look at that gorgeous color, that pink, so beautiful. I gravitate towards kind of the bluey purple, and I actually, spoiler alert, I actually picked up a couple clematis to put in my rose garden today. really beautiful burgundy red. You don't see that very often in clematis. And the only trouble I've ever had with clematis is I did have a couple in the past that got root rot. So, well, it wasn't root rot, it was some kind of fungus that got them, but it was similar to that. And more petunias, that's a pretty beautiful color, but I'm still looking for the Super Petunia bubblegum. And then more of a rosy beautiful red on this petunia. That is such a gorgeous color. The bottom for $12.98, they had these little impatiens that are hanging baskets. That's not a bad price for those, already clustered and grown, growing really nicely. I buy those and just take off the hanging basket holder and I pop them in little blue and white ceramic pots that I have. And then some Gerber daisies potted up for $14.98. A couple more of the 6-packs at the top. Let's see what else they had over here. These are the New Guinea impatiens. And the New Guinea impatiens, of course, like a little bit more shade, $16.98 for those. And they're pretty healthy. I love those. Then we have some beautiful heuchera. $13.48 for the heuchera. And all different kinds. They don't have my silver gumdrop though, but Tractor Supply did have that. And they had it for a great price. So check out Tractor Supply if you're looking for some heuchera. Look at this beautiful clematis with a stripy pink. Oh my goodness. It reminds me of like Baskin Robbins ice cream or something because they used to have the pink and white. Well, they had pink, white, and brown, I think. But that is such a gorgeous, gorgeous color. And of course, they had different ground cover, different mosses, and little things like that that you could plant. These are great to help kind of block out the weeds. $4.98 for these. I have hens and chicks for $4.98. That's such a neat little plant. $3.48 for this little jasmine. That would probably grow really quick. And then I've been really impressed with their boxwood. For $9.98 at Lowe's, they have some of the healthiest looking wintergreen boxwood and that sort of thing. They have August Beauty Gardenia is coming in at $9.98 for the gardenia. It's a zone 8, goes down to zone 8 plant. Then of course some beautiful red Nandina. Can't go wrong with it. It is so hardy. And the beautiful old-fashioned Formosa azalea, $19.98. And I was really interested in this little gardenia right here. Went all the way down to zone 6 for $14.98 for this variety. I think this would be a great buy to add to your garden. Japanese boxwood. $9.98 for that one. And they also had the better boxwood too. Lots of different encore azaleas, autumn sunburst. I have that in my garden. That's a really beautiful color. $14.98 for those. And then $9.48 for the little pencil holly. Tractor Supply had a really good price on the pencil holly for even a larger size, so check them out if you're looking for pencil holly. But $9.48 wasn't bad for this little juniper ground cover. Check out a few more clematis. Look at this gorgeous purple color. My goodness, it's such a deep, majestic looking purple. And then of course they had the lighter, this is the color that I really gravitate towards. This really light, icy blue kind of pink. I think it's even called something ice. No, that one's actually a Bernardine. So not ice, but there is one that they have that's icy blue or something like that. I think it's this one right here coming up. Check out the color on that Super Bell. It's really pretty. This is the one that's called Ice Blue right here, and they're all $18.48. $6.48 for this beautiful purple color. That'd be really pretty planted around some clematis. and then $16.98 for the little hanging baskets at the top. $6.48 for these impatiens. Some more Gerber daisies coming in at $6.48. And some more beautiful lilies. These are a little bit larger and they were $13.48, but look at that orange color. It is stunning. And $7.98 for this beautiful Angelina stone crop. Love the texture on that. And then salvia, one of my favorites, $7.98. Has such a long bloom period, and I just love the color, and it's so drought tolerant. And then $5.48 for these little daylilies. This is the reblooming daylily, I believe. I love this color of petunia. It is so pretty. $6.48 for this magenta geranium. Then of all the little drop-in containers, this one right here was my favorite with all the different colors. Not that guy, but the one right next to it. Just so beautiful. And they don't have all of their hydrangeas in yet. They're probably waiting for them to really start blooming, then they'll start selling them. But they did have some endless summer in the back. They were blooming pink and a couple different varieties. And they were all coming in at about $24.98. And then my daughter has been wanting to get some of this wisteria. She's just been crazy about it. She wants to plant it on the back side of our forest. So we're gonna have to do that. We might have got some on this day. It is invasive, but we're gonna be careful with it. And look at the beautiful purple on this plant right here. $5.48. And that is called Cooper's Ice Plant. What a beautiful color. And then the knockout roses were coming in at $25.98, kind of your traditional knockout color. They had the deep pink. And then this plant right here, the Sonic Bloom, $29.98. I have heard really good things about this. I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Wigelia is how you pronounce it, I think. Wigelia. Anyway. It just keeps blooming all season. I've heard great things about it. I want to try one. It's definitely in the cards. Eventually I'm gonna have to. All right, and this is just where they have all of their new inventory, just tons and tons of racks. I mean, they had to have 30 racks, maybe 40, maybe 50 that were just not unloaded. I'm gonna show you the best of what I saw back here. There were so many plants, I was getting dizzy. Like I was just, it's crazy how many plants that they have brand new right in off the trucks. Look at this rhododendron, this purple, brand new from Monrovia. Gorgeous, gorgeous color. I love it. And I couldn't see the exact container size, but it's $40.98. It's a pretty big container. I think it's a 5-gallon, I'm not sure. And then they had on the back side some other rhododendron. They had a beautiful Japanese maple. Couldn't see the price on that one. Then look at the color right here on this impatient. That is gorgeous. Stunning color. Brand new right off the truck. Then they had some more wave petunias at $12.98 for those big hanging baskets with some blended colors. Very nice color, I think. And then the purple at the top was $12.98 also. Brand new foxglove for $16.98 right off of the truck right here. Check out the color on this dahlia. Isn't that beautiful? $10.98 for this gorgeous dahlia. I think it gets about 14 inches or so tall. And then we just try to make our way through the sea of giant plant containers. There's so many. Some more foxglove, some more lavender at the bottom. What else did they have that was brand new? They have a ton more lilies that have come in. And those lilies were at $13.48. And then we had some beautiful vincas, hanging baskets at $12.98. Angelina's stone crop right here. We already looked at that one earlier. And then I tried to make my way in between all of the racks. We have a lot more clematis that just came in. Those are all $18.48. I think they're going to sell a lot of those. $13.48 for this Proven Winners hosta. Those are always beautiful for a shade garden. Some more daylilies. Some ornamental grass down there at the bottom. Got to be careful with those. A lot of times those are not hardy in different parts of the South. These are pretty cool. These Sunfinity sunflower, they bloom all season. They're like a re-blooming sunflower, $29.98. So you don't just get one go at them. They're going to keep on blooming and pretty much until frost. Then we had some beautiful impatiens and hanging baskets. Look at the color of this one. Oh my gosh, $16.98. But just, it is so beautiful in the center with that dark red and the pink. I really like that. Anything different, I love. More of the lantana and hanging baskets. We saw that earlier, $7.98 right here for this little guy. And then we had Burgundy Glow Ajuga, I believe is how you pronounce that. That's really beautiful for $4.98. They just have so many different pre-made containers. $39.98 for this one. It's pretty pricey. Some impatiens here. Just a little drop-in kind you can make your own container with. They were $4.98 for that size. And then $24.98 for this butterfly bush here. Pretty good size plant, and those usually do really well in all parts of the South, and of course they attract butterflies. Lots of new encore azaleas, more of the autumn lily coming in. Well, actually autumn lily I didn't see. That's a new one that just came in. Little lime hydrangeas have just arrived for $29.98. A lot of people love little lime. Little lime is nice, of course, because it stays a little compact and smaller. And another nice hanging basket pre-made for you. And that one was coming in at $23.98. So just tons and tons of new inventory. So if you are ready to go plant shopping and get excited, I think this is the weekend to go. There is just tons and tons of new plants that have arrived. Another plant that I can't pronounce, the name starts with an IX. It is $19.98 for this one. Ixora, I don't know how to say it. I'm not even going to try, guys. And I really love this plant here in this container, but it was $99.98. That's a little steep, I think you can make your own for much less. It is beautiful, however, but that's pretty steep for a container. $11.98 for this little ready refill. And then this pre-made container was $36.98, which still pricey, but I don't think it's too bad. You get a nice little cute container with it, and it is very, very full. And then my favorite terracotta pots, I gotta point them out every time. They used to be made in Italy. They're being made in the USA now. I think some may still be made in Italy, but whatever the case is, they are the best. They have them at Lowe's. They are not made in China. They are made in the USA. Pennington is the brand. Check them out. These right here are just some really nice, huge containers. You'd have to have somebody help you take that home for sure. Just wanted to point these out to you. They're not the Made in the USA ones. And then also a quick look at some of the fruit trees. And then we were pretty much done with our trip. I mean, they had so many plants. I cannot even tell you. I am just, wow. And a sweet little goodbye from my baby. So we picked up a wisteria at Lowe's. My daughter has really been wanting one of these. We're going to put it back on our florist line. We're going to keep it in check. It can be very invasive, so we're going to be careful with it, but we were excited to have one. So we picked up these little impatiens just to drop in these containers. They were $12.98 and they were hanging baskets, and I just took off the top and dropped them in my container. I have a little brick underneath to give them height. And I usually do this every year, just pop in something in these little containers. Just a little sneak peek at the rose garden. Look at Tayton. Look at this beautiful rose. Oh my goodness, you guys. Cordis rose, Tayton, one of my favorites. Not perfect with black spot, but still a great rose. And then my azaleas are blooming in the back. Summer romance is starting in the back. Everything is just starting to really hit its stride. My beautiful Georgia peach dianthus right there. I've got to get my fountain going this weekend. So this is just a little sneak peek. We will have a rose garden tour coming up very soon when it is all in full bloom. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. If you liked today's video, we would love for you to subscribe to our channel. Give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, let me know what's going on in your world. And I will see you back here next time at the Real Southern Garden. Bye guys.